Hello, my name is Jhadira Villavicencio,
And my name is Janelle Mathies.
and today Janelle is going to interview me about an adaptive challenge.
And so, Jadera, what are you facing right now in your workplace? What would you say the biggest adaptive challenge you're facing right now?
Yeah, so in my workplace, I am a recruiter for a hiring agency, a staffing agency. An adaptive challenge that I want to talk about today is something that I deal with constantly in my role as a recruiter, and that's building trust and strong communication across a distributed team. So, on paper, communication really seems simple. We have email, Teams, Zoom, share tracker, messaging platforms. So you'd think it would make everything kind of easier with the technology that we have and like having a remote team like I have. But for us, we're spread across different cities and different time zones. So we're a group of 5 people. Some of us are in the Pacific time zone, some of us are Central, like myself, and then we have others in Eastern. And it actually introduces a lot of complexity. I've learned that communicating across distances isn't just like a logistical challenge. It really is an adaptive one because it requires new habits, new expectations, and a willingness to adjust, not just a quick technical fix.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that in this role that you're in, your adaptive challenge is trying to learn a way to best communicate with everybody across these different time zones, across communication styles, and in order to make your work effective with everybody, you're having to come up with this solution to best communicate with everybody. Is that what you would say the adaptive challenge is?
Yes, exactly. Yes, I have been trying to figure out. Well, I've only been in the company since December, so I've only been here for a couple months. So I've been trying to learn everybody's different styles and like the way they like to be communicated with. I myself, I know my best communication style is just a quick phone call. I'm really good at multitasking, so that's fine. And I'm really not, since I'm pretty new, I'm not dealing with too many different clients. I really have about like 2 clients that I deal with daily. Of course, like those change. Like my 2 clients that I deal with daily typically change, but during my day, my communication is pretty easy since I'm just dealing with 2 clients at a time. But I have other recruiters on my team who are dealing with a lot of different clients. So I know that one person on my team does prefer quick calls like I do when it comes to communication. I know somebody else prefers everything in writing. Someone else, their hours isn't like in the Pacific time zone, so they work very like longer hours compared to me. So I believe like they don't start until like I want to say 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. while we like started already like at 8 a.m. So they kind of miss out on like the morning stuff that we've already talked about. So they kind of feel left behind. So I've been trying to gain some trust with that coworker to be able to catch them up on like what we've already talked about. And then I have someone else who is juggling a lot of different clients at a time. So that person always needs like context whenever I or another recruiter reach out to them to talk to them. We need to make sure that we give context of who we're talking about. And I have another coworker who needs everything in writing. They cannot do a quick call. It just kind of I want to say like it's just better for their anxiety. Just everything is written down. It's just a better the kind of with the way their brain works. So trying to figure out the communication styles definitely took me a bit. Like it took me the last 2 months to be able to figure that out. I'm glad I've been able to like see, but now it's still trying to navigate like a consistent way of being able to talk to everybody because it can be kind of draining and exhausting.
So what I hear you saying, Jadira, is that right now you're trying to figure out the best communication styles for each of the individual people in order to build trust or help build trust with them in order to work effectively with them. And that you're finding that with each of the individual people, it's different. Or the communication style with them is different. And so it's helpful, but it's also draining for you. Is that
Yes,
What?
that's exactly. Yeah. For example, like my day to day in practice, it looks like missed messages, repeated work, or decisions being made without everyone being present. Not because anyone is wrong, but just because our timing isn't necessarily aligned. There have been moments when I've thought, was this already decided, or did I miss something, or did they know I handled that already? I try to be as communicative as possible on my end, but sometimes I just feel like because there's so many moving parts, it can be hard to do that remotely. It's easier. Sometimes I miss kind of being in office because you get to talk to people during lunch, or you get to stop by their cubicles and talk, but just kind of in that remote environment, that's not necessarily what you have to do. Like all of your communication has to be very intentional. I've learned that I'm not the only one that feels this way. Sometimes someone else feels out of the loop because updates were sent while they were asleep. So sometimes someone feels ignored when really the messages simply just get buried in like a long thread of emails. Sometimes someone feels ignored when really the messages just like, yeah, they just, like I said, they just get buried in the emails. And sometimes people just feel kind of misunderstood in the tone of the message, because when they can't see someone's face, a neutral sentence can sound kind of intimidated, or kind of dismissive as well. So it becomes like an emotional challenge, not just a logistical one.
What sort of conversations have happened amongst the whole group in terms of solutions for any sort of challenges that you guys have faced with this?
We thought it would be good to do like a team huddle, or like a morning team huddle, and then like an afternoon team huddle. The only issue with that, because that way like we're all there, we all check in. Well, actually, the okay, so actually I'm losing my train of thought. So the very first thing we do in the morning is we send a message of like, okay, these are the clients we're working with today. Like personally, like I'm working with these two clients today. I'm working to fill these two spots that they have available. And then everybody kind of just checks in and puts in what they're working on. And then we have an afternoon huddle where everybody gets together on video, and kind of talks about what's going any challenges. We try to keep it to like 30 minutes so that way we can get back to work. And then there's an optional like afternoon huddle at the very end of the day. A lot of people don't show up to that afternoon huddle just because like we're trying to tie up loose ends at the end of the day. So a lot of people get busy. And then sometimes in the morning, people don't necessarily put their updates on there, or it changes throughout the day a lot. So it's not always like the most up to date, like what we're doing. And then in the morning huddle, like things, I feel like the challenges that we face in the morning aren't necessarily the challenges that we face throughout the day. So it's kind of been a little bit inconsistent in that communicate. Like I like that we had set up that kind of platform so that way we can check in together and it is an intentional time. But because our work is just so everywhere a lot of the time,
Mhm.
that it's not always consistent, like talking about what's really going on. So I think that's just something that we need to keep trying to figure out how to solve.
And has anybody else come up with any ideas like things that they think would be helpful?
Something that like that was thrown around was that it would be easier if teams were made on like based off of time zones, because we have a lot of other team members in our company, but they're all kind of scattered by different time zones. I feel like it might be easier. Not that like I wish any of my teammates like were not in my group or anything like that, but it just would be when it comes to communication, I think it would be easier if it was based off of time zones. And like clients that way, because a lot of the clients are based off of like the different time zones. So sometimes I'll be working with a client from the Midwest while somebody's working with a client from California. Um, so it doesn't necessarily make sense for us to be partnered in that kind of way. So I did have a teammate just suggest that, and that is something that they're looking for. It's just that they didn't have the bandwidth yet, but they did hire a couple more hiring classes for recruiters in the future. So I believe we have a hiring class starting in March and another one starting in May. So with some more central time zone people and some more Pacific time zone people. So I think that would help to have like get a little bit more of group with the time zones, just because it's just been very sporadic. So I think that might be a big way that we could potentially help this issue.
Gotcha. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the idea that you guys have that you're working or that you're kind of working with right now is having like a meeting in the morning and then another meeting in the afternoon, where you kind of lay out what you're going to do for the day in the morning and then what's been going on during the day in the afternoon. But those are kind of sporadic in terms of attendance. But then another idea has been thrown out there that with additional hires, you might be able to do more of a time zone type. I guess I'm trying to think of the word, like have like call or like recruitment based on time zones, and that would maybe help alleviate some of the problems.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my goal isn't to like force anyone into one communication style, because I don't want, like, everybody has their own different communication styles when it comes to this group. I think it would just be easier if we were just all in the same time zone, and then that way we can, first of all, like work the same hours. That makes it easier, and then also it would be easier to coordinate intentional communication time.
Gotcha. Is there anything else that you can think of that I haven't asked about or talked about?
I think that's good. It was just good to kind of talk about that. Yeah, and like kind of like go through, I guess, like my emotions about it. I really love my company. I love the people I work with. I just think that some things can be missed that could be vital, and I just think that maybe having people in the same time zone might be helpful. But also, like I said, it's not like a technical fix, because just putting people in their time zones might not always fix the communication problem to it. So I think maybe being patient, and also potentially like having like I said, some people like written versus some people can do a quick call. Some people need context to like the actual what's going on information. So I think maybe just being transparent of the what kind of like communication style you like to do, or like you like to have, because like I said, it took me like 2 months to finally figure out everybody's communication style. So I think that could be something that could definitely be worked on, is like transparency of how you can be communicated, or how you work best, and how I should communicate to you.
Well, and so overall, for our conversation, the adaptive challenge that I think that we talked about today or tonight was that with the position that you're in right now, you're kind of facing this communication barrier with the different time zones that you guys are in, the different communication styles that you guys have. And so you're kind of trying to develop solutions for that. And the two that we tossed around tonight would be, or the one that you've worked on or currently are working with, is having like a morning huddle and an afternoon huddle, but the attendance with those are kind of like hit or miss. And then the other solution that has been tossed around is when there's additional people that are hired, to have more of a time zone based group. And that way the communication can be a little bit easier for everybody to work around or work within because of the time zone situation. So,
yes, exactly.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
it was
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, it was good talking to you, and I enjoyed hearing about your adaptive challenge and your work that you're doing. And yeah, it was great to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was super great talking to you.
Thanks.